Okay, so yes, we are live. So hello everyone, welcome to today's very special interview. And today I am honored to have with me a true powerhouse, a martial artist and USMC trained and NLP master trainer and psychologist, neuroscientist, and a polymath, Mr. Bob Choat. So he is someone who has spent his life mastering the mind, body, and spirit, and we are going to dive into his journey, his wisdom, and his insights that can truly change lives. So let's get started and learn from the best. So first of all, sir, thank you very much for your valuable time, and thanks for coming to my show.
Well, thank you for having me on. Yeah, it's just it's interesting because I look at the younger generations and seeing amazement. Uh, I know that a lot of people, like older people, they would look at the younger people and and say, well, they really don't know much of anything. They have no motivation and so forth. But I see things differently. I see things much differently. Uh, and I even look at people in my generation who
Yes.
have who project what they um, look at others for, and I'm 73 years old. I'll be 74 in August. So part of that older crowd. So I've been doing a lot of stuff throughout my life, but I love seeing young people like you taking initiative, developing, and even having your own podcast and reaching out to people like me. So let me go ahead and continue, and I'm going to introduce myself a little bit because you did do a little bit of that. I spent time in the Marine Corps. I went in, uh, gosh, it's been 50 something years, and then I was with the Los Angeles Police Department after that. And I've done things throughout my life. From I've been in the martial arts since I was a year and a half old, and I've continued to learn and to continue to grow to wanting to know. One of the things I want to tell your audience is that curiosity is one of the most important factors for growth. The wanting to know, always asking questions. I know that a lot of younger people, when they want to, that when they ask questions, especially when you see little kids, they ask questions of their parents or adults, and they're very curious. But adults kind of like say,
Okay,
"Don't ask
so
me
let's
questions."
move on to the first question.
Okay, go
Okay.
ahead.
Yes. Okay, so what inspired you to become a martial artist? First question.
Yeah. So it was my mother. My mom. She grew up in that with her older brothers in Japan, and she learned how to do kendo with the wooden sword and also judo. So so when I was a year and a half old, she started teaching me how to use a stick in terms of fighting and everything. Then I lived in Okinawa from age 5 to age 8, and I studied the Okinawan karate way back. This is a long time ago, and so I continued to study the martial arts throughout my whole life, studying different martial arts from different countries and so forth, because I realized it's not just one country that has it; it's multiple countries have their own version of the martial arts. So I got curious and I wanted to understand that and how they did things. And even to this day, I would look at different martial arts, and I have a whole collection of books and videos, and then people I've studied with and so forth to continue that journey in my own martial arts journey and earning multiple black belts and so forth. So yeah, and even becoming a master instructor in close quarter combat. That's from my Marine Corps days.
Okay, so many people think that martial arts is some kind of magic thing. So, what is your statement on it?
Yeah, martial arts, there's really no magic in it,
Mm.
other than in terms of one's mindset towards it. Uh, you could even break martial arts down with the mindset part of it. Physical fitness is a very important part, and also science. You can look at how martial arts in terms of the scientific aspects, and you look at like physics and so forth, and even the human physiology and how it works. So if you can understand and 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 I will look at like martial arts that I've never seen before, but I always ask myself, what is the basics of the martial arts? What is the foundational part of it? So I would go there, I would deconstruct it like an engineer would, and then start with the basics and then build upon that. And you could do this with anything. You could do it with chess or even like I said in engineering, in psychology, in various sciences, or anything. You can break it down to its basic elements and then build it back up. So I learned how to do, for example, Aikido in one weekend by deconstructing it. And so what are the primary components of Aikido? And it's just more of the circular kind of stuff, not hard strikes, but circular. So if you could think about like in terms of wheels, so like one is like driving a car and you have a wheel like this, so you can turn a person as they're attacking you and turning that kind of wheel, or turning on a faucet like this kind of wheel. So you can do like a hand thing, like grabbing a hand and turning on a faucet and they'll flip over. So those kind of things, just breaking it down. And again, there's nothing magic of it. A lot of people will look at like martial arts movies and they would look at, okay, it looks magical, but that's special effects. That's not reality. And so again, there's nothing magical about the martial arts except for there's some practitioners that want to make people believe that there's a magic component to the martial arts. When it's just simple, if you understand science and mindset and so forth, it becomes simpler to understand other than having to train and perfect what you do. So continuous training and just getting a little bit better each and every time. And so is there a next question?
Okay, so that's amazing. I just asked, yes. I just asked because I have seen some of cartoons. So there are like
Hmm.
something they build a fire with their hands and etc.
Ah,
Like these things. And when my next question is from you, how did your time in the USMC shape your mindset?
yeah. So I was very young when I went in. I was 17 years old, and it was a time there was a war going on, all this kind of stuff, and so it taught me in terms of like the positive things was more of working in a cohesive unit, working with others. Now, war and combat and stuff like that, that changes a person as well. But if you understand it, like later on, I had to learn, understand psychology and so forth. But the foundational aspects of being in a Marine Corps is that uh, we learn discipline and self-discipline and being focused towards a mission. So that was one of the primary things that I got out of it is that, okay, I had my missions in when I was in the Marine Corps, but how can I apply it in terms of the real world? So whether it's starting a business or even going to school. So what is my reason? What is my mission for taking certain classes in school, going to college and so forth? Why am I doing this? So you have a goal, and then you have strategies for that goal and everything like that till and then you look at, okay, what do I need? for my mission to be accomplished. So mission is getting a college degree. After college, what is it I want to do? Do I want to build a business? Do I want to go work for some company or so forth? But I learned that if I set a mission and have my own personal mission throughout my life, like the kind of missions I learned when I was in the Marines, it's going to be much better. It gives me more clarity. And on top of the missions, I have certain principles, my guiding principles, my virtues, my values, everything like that. Just like I had when I was in the Marine Corps, I had certain values and principles, guiding principles. So now I have to create my own, and which is what I learned, and moving forward in terms of that. And I look at examples of people who were able to take what they learned from the Marines, uh, like you've heard of Domino's Pizza. So the founder of Domino's Pizza uh, was also in the Marines. The founder of FedEx, so Federal Express, was also in the Marine Corps. So if you understand those principles and you can apply that along with the discipline, everything else that I learned, and being able to move forward and to grow.
So that's amazing. Thank you very much for this wonderful answer. And my third question is from you. What's one myth about the brain that people still believe?
Yeah, there's so many myths about the brain. And one of the things that I hear, even speakers like motivational speakers and everybody that talks about uh, that we only use X amount percent of our brain. For example, oh, we only use 5%, we only use 20% of our brain, things like that. And that is one of the biggest myths that I've been telling people. It's it's a fallacy, and and it stemmed from uh, research many years ago, but people misinterpreted the research. The truth is, we use 100% of our brain all the time. Now, whether we use it effectively or not, that's a different thing. And I think one of the things that when I think about the aspects of using the brain, for example, when we're thinking, when we're truly thinking, we're learning something new, we use our prefrontal cortex, our executive function, and in that case, we only use, like, throughout the day, about 5 to 10% of that part of the thinking, but we're still engaged in using the whole brain. Uh, we just have other parts that will take over. Uh, we have our what's called system one. So system two is our prefrontal cortex, just thinking higher level, and then we have system one. So think of about it this way, but I'm going to expand and get more into this brain part. It makes it easier to understand. So we have the fast part of the brain. This is like when when we're not really thinking, we're just more reacting, or we're doing certain things that we do over, like repetitive activities, driving a car, or so forth. Once you get there, I don't know if you're probably still too young to drive a car, but once you get there, you'll understand that. Initially, you have to use system two, so that's engaging that higher level thinking, where you have to learn how to do something. But once it gets to be easy, you don't have to think about doing it. So that's your system one. So system one is like, imagine a fast animal like a cheetah. So a cheetah from Africa, and they can run really fast. They go here, they go there, and everywhere like that. Whereas system two is like a wise owl. So that's where, like, you have wisdom, the thinking, and everything. So that's where, when I think about, going back to your initial question about the myth, and we think about, like, okay, I'm now thinking, or so I'm now using that part of the brain, but I'm still using my whole brain. I have to use my whole brain even to think. I have to use my whole brain, but parts of it actually is not accessed as readily when I'm just operating off of certain mental models and so forth. So yeah, that's one of the biggest myths is that we only use X amount of our brain. Oh, by the way, I'm going to explain to your audience that our brain can be used more effectively. So uh, if you have, like I said earlier, having a goal, something like that, uh, you have something to focus on. Make sure that it aligns with who you are as a person, and again, a set of guiding principles. So I kind of direct my brain to do that, to go into creative mode and think about what I can do. So I see a lot of issues going on in this world, and I want people to be able to think better. So I create stuff to help people to be able to think better, including launching my Modern Lyceum Academy based on Aristotle's work. So if you've heard of Aristotle, he was a famous Greek philosopher. He was the student of Plato, and Plato was a student of Socrates. And and so we grow from that in terms of having that kind of focus and being able to use our brain in a proper way. So being able to use that thinking part. And that's what reason I wanted to launch the Modern Lyceum Academy, which is based on Aristotle's original Lyceum. And so, yeah, uh, using our brain to be more effective in terms of what we do in life and in order to grow. Okay, next question.
Connected in the middle because of like some internet connection issues. So thank you for handling. And my next question is from you: how can someone reprogram their mindset using NLP?
Okay, so there's a lot of different techniques within NLP, but one of the ones I want to explain, which is a crossover with cognitive behavioral therapy, and it's called reframing. So reframing is simply having a shift in perspective and how you see something, including how you see yourself. So if you can imagine putting a frame around something like a picture, and so you have a plain old picture, but if you put a frame around it, it changes your perception. If you put like a frame with maybe a color filter, it changes it. And and so we reframe all the time. We just don't realize that we're using it. So we can take something and then change it. So if you're going through a a difficult situation, maybe it's in school or with a family member, and maybe somebody like is yelling at you or something like that. You can change the framing of how you perceive them instead of you reacting to somebody. It could be like a friend or anybody else. You react to it because they made you feel bad. So instead of of lashing out, what you can do initially, and I'm going to use a cognitive behavioral thing along with that, is that you can stop, step back, evaluate the situation, and put a new frame around it. Reframe that activity with a new perspective. So, what would be the new perspective? And that could be, um, well, um, she yelled at me, and 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 I started feeling bad. But the new perspective is, why did she yell? And now I'm putting that frame around it, and maybe the frame is that she's having a difficult time. It could be in her own home. It could be somewhere else. That's the reason she yelled at me. She didn't yell at me, but she was doing her own reaction. So that's just one example. Another frame that you can utilize if you have, like, let's say somebody is bullying you and at school, or um, calling you names or whatever like that. You could change your perspective by putting a frame of, this is nothing but, the bully is just a young child, a young little child that's just also lashing out. So that young little child, and a bully may look big, but the truth is that bully is this young little child that had issues from growing up, growing at home, and everything like that. So you can make that like a cartoon character, little child, and would change how you see that bully, and not be so afraid of the bully anymore. And yeah, I know that a lot of, especially like you're in in what, the seventh grade, I believe, right? Or so I know that a lot of that kind of stuff can happen within that. So you can use reframing as just one thing of the many things that NLP has in terms of being able to change your mind and so forth. And I can go deeper into it, but it'll take a long time. Okay, let me continue, because again, technology glitches always happen, and I've been dealing this with
Okay,
this
so
for.
my next question is from you. That
Okay,
yeah, my next question is from you. How do martial arts and neuroscience connect?
okay. So when we think about martial arts, and earlier you mentioned about people have this magical thinking regarding martial arts and so forth, and neuroscience, and I'm going to even go with the physical body, because martial arts has a lot of physicality with it. And and so when we have like movement, like muscle movement and everything like that, so like when I throw a punch, initially I may have, like, if I'm a beginner, I'm going to throw the punch really bad. I don't know how to like connect my body in terms of the movement and everything like that. And and so in neuroscience, every time, like, when you learn something new, you start to develop connections within the brain. And it tells, like, for example, in a martial arts, that you're you need to move your body in terms of this way when this happens and so forth. But it doesn't work that way uh, right away. It takes time. As you do it more and more and more and more, you practice certain techniques more and more. So initially, where you're throwing a punch, and it was like really awkward or something, so you may were like really slow. The more connections, because the more neurons that are firing together, they actually now come and they'll wire together, they get stronger. So it's like digging a ditch. So you have a small little ditch that you're digging, and it's nothing, but until you make it bigger and bigger and bigger, and where water can flow, a huge amount of water will flow through that ditch, maybe even becoming a stream or a river. That's like that connection. So now you may be awkward throwing a punch to throwing it like really fast and really hard and connecting your whole body as a single unit, but it's happening up here in the brain. It's your brain that's connecting all these movements, even being able to move out of the way when somebody throws or kick or other things. So learning anything, not just in martial arts, but whenever you learn something, it's doing the same thing. Every time you do something. So let's say you read something in a book, you're studying it, but you don't really like have it that strong connected. But the more times that you learn something, you learn it in different ways, it's going to develop a stronger and stronger connection. It's just like you doing this podcast. Initially, you probably didn't know how to do it, but you just got better and better and better doing it more and more times because now your brain is connecting more and more to becomes easy to do. Just like learning anything becomes easier the more times you do it. Martial arts is no different. Anything, any skill set that you want to learn, you practice, you practice, you practice, you even practice it in different ways, and eventually it just becomes almost like an instant thing. So like with me, I've been doing martial arts for a long time. So my movements are much better. And in specific martial arts, again, there's a lot of different martial arts. So if I'm learning a new martial arts, I start back at the beginning, and then now I have to develop the awkwardness and growth from there, and then getting better and better and better at doing that as well. So from a multitude of different martial arts I've done. So practice, and not just practice, but perfect practice makes perfect. So you want to make sure that that you're accurate in terms of your practicing. Oh, and by the way, um, if you're like, I know this is a technology school that you're part of, and learning from that, again, studying and doing new things, and I've seen a lot of younger people out here in technology schools doing the same kind of things, and the neuroscience aspect is very important part, very important connection for that, the brain. And I gave you basic aspects on that. Uh, so again, with martial arts, I mentioned earlier about system one, system two. It's the same thing. So you need system two to initially learn it, and then you go to system one becomes a more of a natural movement.
Net issues. So that's why I was again distracted. But thank you very much for this amazing conversation and for coming to my show again. So now it's time to end our today's conversation here. So thank you so much, Bob, for sharing your incredible wisdom, experiences, and insights with us today. I am sure our audience learned a lot about mastering the mind and building resilience and living a stronger, more fulfilled life. So it's truly been an honor having you here. And to everyone watching or listening, if you found value in today's conversation, make sure to like, share, and subscribe for more inspiring episodes. So stay curious, stay strong, and keep growing. See you in the next one. Thank you very much, Bob. So
Thank you.
bye.
Thank you as well. Take care. I know.
Thank you very much. See you.